First story. OP's Bill was convicted for saying her. But still, the family blames OP and demands she apologizes and reconciles with Bill. 10 years ago. I, now 45, was at my sister's now 35 birthday party. She was 7 months pregnant at the time, so at the end of the party, she drove her friends to their homes because she was sober. I stayed with her, then best friend, to tidy up her place after the party. Her husband, now 33, was very drunk. He thought I was alone, so he abused me. The best friend walked in and helped me. He got 2 years but served only a few months. My sister initially believed us, and she filed for divorce. When Bill got out of prison, however, she changed her mind and cut all ties with me and her bestie. She also started saying that I seduced him. My then husband left me because he thought I cheated and ruined a man's life, but also because I wasn't functioning as a human being after what happened. My sister also went through several breakdowns, and she had self-harming thoughts. My mom contacted me and told me what was happening with my sister and begged me to confess to the truth because she was worried about my sister's mental health. I couldn't believe my ears. My mom has been very cold towards me since that night, yes, and she didn't call or try to see me. But I thought she just couldn't face seeing me in that state. I lost many people who simply couldn't deal with the trauma and chose to distance themselves instead. But that wasn't her reason. She believed my sister and Bill's story. I have since moved and started over in another city. In 10 years, I haven't seen or heard from my mother, father, or sister. The only people I have relationships with are my 2 brothers, now 41 and 39. Dad called me and asked me to go back home to see Mom. She has found out that she has lung cancer, and it's terminal. She wanted to see me before she passed on. I'm so conflicted. I hate her so much, and the thought of seeing her brings back all the pain, and I have tried so hard to forget what happened. But she's ill, and I feel a lot of guilt and other unidentified feelings that make me think that I'm a horrible person. I need help. Update. Thank you so much for supporting me. This was a very sensitive subject for me, and I haven't really talked about it with that many people. I decided, instead of visiting Mom, to talk to her over the phone. I wanted to know what she wanted because I had my suspicions, and it turned out my suspicions were right. Mom wants me to make amends with my sister. She is worried after her passing that no one is there for my little sister and her family, and she wanted me to be there for her, because I've always been the strong one and my sister is always the weaker of us that needed the support. I asked her why she didn't put that task on one of my brothers, both of them older than my sister. But she said once I make amends with my sister, they will also come around. My mom's voice was so weak, and she was crying and begging throughout the whole conversation. I did not recognize her. I didn't cry, and I really didn't talk a lot because this call wasn't about me at all. She never asked about me, how I was, what I was doing, or how I had been coping these past 10 years. Before she finished, she was begging to visit and meet her and my sister. I didn't know what to say, so I told her that I forgave my sister, and she wouldn't be alone. She asked me to visit so she could see her family together again. I told her that I couldn't, but that I would forgive everyone so she could be easy and not worry about us. She started sobbing even harder and couldn't continue with the conversation, so she hung up. Yesterday, Saturday, I woke up to the door phone ringing. When I answered, it was my dad. He asked me to buzz them in. Them? Who them? I looked out the window, and there they were. My father, my sister, her husband, and their children. I didn't know what to do. I just broke out in cold sweats. I think I stood there for a whole minute. I decided to call my brother, who lives in the next apartment complex, and I told him everything. 5 minutes later, he showed up outside with his husband. I heard him shouting, and my father shouted back that they just wanted to bring me home with them so Mom could see us together because she's not feeling well at all. I didn't want to listen anymore. I just went to bed. My brother and his husband have been around, making food, etc. But I haven't had the energy to do anything this weekend. My parents have been calling since yesterday, but I will never answer them. I'm glad that I made the decision not to visit. And I'm so grateful for my brother. He was the one who helped me move and found me a place near his family. I'm sorry that I don't have a better update. And I'm sorry that some of you will be disappointed that I didn't go see my mom. But I'm not made of iron, and I don't think I can. If there's an afterlife, I hope I don't get punished that much. Second story. OP uninvited their entitled family after they abused OP's fiancé. I, 24, am getting married to my fiancé J, 23. My mother's family is very traditional and religious, and they always believed I would be marrying a girl. They are having a hard time adjusting. Jay is a model. He oftentimes models clothes on the more feminine side, and no one has a problem with it. My family has seen some of the photos and has often joked that Jay is pretty enough to be a girl, which he would just laugh off as a joke. My grandfather has offered to pay for the suits. The deal was that he would get an opinion when it came to what our wedding suits would be since they were paying. Jay and I went on different days. Fast forward. I'm going to go pick up the suits from my aunt's place. Right away, I can tell something's wrong. My suit is fine, but Jay's is white. Jay was adamant, saying he wanted a black suit, so I asked my aunt why it was white, but she said Jay chose it. I didn't believe her. Something was definitely off. Jay isn't a large guy or anything, but this suit just looked far too small. I asked Jay about the suit when I get home, and he just brushes it off. When I said it looked too small, he looked a bit panicked and said he'd take care of it. I couldn't help but feel like maybe Jay was pressured into choosing white. He's a bit of a people pleaser, so it wouldn't surprise me. I ended up looking up the suit online to see if I could order one in black, and if he liked it, we could refund my grandfather. As it turns out, they ordered a woman's suit for him. I honestly thought it was a mistake at first, and that maybe my grandfather somehow chose wrong, so I asked Jay about it when he got home, and he broke down. Apparently, my grandfather told Jay that every wedding needs someone in the bride role, and since he's marrying into our family, it should be him. My aunt had been pressuring Jay into losing weight to fit into the suit they bought for him, and had convinced him their family would only accept him if he wore a white bridal one. And that's not even all. My grandaunt has been buying Jay a lot of hair accessories that are extremely feminine, and has even suggested he get a new engagement ring. I've never been so pissed. Jay said he didn't tell me about any of this because he just wanted to keep the peace, and that just made me more upset. I ended up uninviting them to our wedding. My mom called and demanded to know what happened, and she was deeply shocked and ashamed when I told her everything. And she says it's not acceptable, but that they're having a hard time adjusting to this new kind of wedding. My cousins say if a suit is such a big deal, then Jay should just wear a dress since he's used to wearing girl clothes. I uninvited them too. Jay's family is all on my side. My mom says that I was overreacting by not inviting everyone who disagrees with me, and that I should let them come if they apologize to Jay. I'll admit I was harsh, but I also don't think I'm in the wrong. Nita, in the comments. It reads to me that OP's family is still stuck in some really dated homophobia, where sexual orientation is confused with gender identity. OP. They definitely don't know the difference. When I came out as bi, they held on to the attracted to women part only, and I can remember one of them asking if Jay was trans because of some of the clothes he wore, and I had to correct them. At this point, I'm just assuming they're choosing not to educate themselves. It sounds to me like your mom wants to be uninvited next since she isn't really supporting you. If she wants bigots at the wedding, then she is one by association. OP. I think my mom's scared of the treatment she'll receive because of it. She's always been scared of her dad and uncle's opinions on her, and they've been pressuring her to get me to reconsider. People-pleasing is a real character flaw, especially when someone takes it this far. Someone who can't be honest about problems will undermine your marriage. I don't believe your fiancé is ready to get married. He will almost certainly continue to hide problems from you and avoid conflict, leaving you to deal with their problems and get blindsided. OP. It's not that he hides problems from me. This was just an extreme situation. Our families have always had a go at each other, and we were both worried about bringing them together. Jay and I are very open to each other, but this time Jay didn't want to bring it up because it was my family. We both do therapy individually, but I think couples therapy would potentially be good for us, especially after this. Is your mom still invited? OP. Currently, yes. You are NTA. And your mother and your mother's family definitely are. But I am afraid you have a bigger problem to worry about. I think you need to postpone the wedding. Jay said he didn't tell me about any of this because he just wanted to keep the peace, and that just made me more upset. I ended up uninviting them to our wedding. Why did Jay not feel safe enough in your relationship to tell you this was going on? Did he think you'd agree with them? Why was his instinct kicking in to please your family at your expense? This is all really, really bad, and I think you and he should postpone the wedding and do couples counseling. I also don't think you were harsh enough on your family. They behaved abominably. OP. From what Jay told me, he didn't want to cause any more stress on the wedding planning, which I get. But I also don't associate with this scenario. Our families don't get along in general, so Jay thought it would be best to simply do whatever to keep everyone from blowing up. We are both very open to each other. This situation was just incredibly extreme, and he thought that he could always change after the ceremony. The wedding is still on, and we are both in therapy, and I'm thinking doing some couples sessions may help us more. First update. To start off, thank you guys so much for your support. Jay and I both appreciate it very much, and I'm glad you all are just as upset as I am. Jay and I ended up deciding that if my family apologized to him, they would be able to come to the ceremony, but not the reception. Jay was the one who suggested it, and my mom was on board with the idea as well. We returned both suits, and Jay's grandparents offered to pay for any we chose by ourselves, regardless of what they looked like. They would even pay the shipping fees so they'd be here on time. Bless them. All the offenders, except for my cousins, ended up apologizing to Jay, but only my aunt looked somewhat genuine about it, especially after we explained the deal. I thought that would be it, but I was wrong. Yesterday we got a return on our deposit for our reception venue, with the owners saying they ended up double booking and could no longer host us. Their policy says they can refund up to the week of an event. As far as the website says, the day is still free. My mom has been getting texts non-stop from her brother, and we have come to the conclusion that her uncle somehow convinced the owners of the venue to not host us, presumably because they were pissed about not being able to come to the reception. So now Jay and I have no venue and are positively freaking out. We've been scrambling all day trying to find one last minute, because we have everything booked and invitations sent out, but no place for anyone to go. So yeah, as if the situation wasn't already bad enough. I may end up posting another update if we're able to sort this out. Judgment. Not the arsehole. Update. Editor's note. OP tried to post this update on Ada, but moderators deleted it. He added the final update to his original post as an edit on May 22nd, but it was originally posted on May 20th. Final update. It has been an absolute ride over here. My Bill ended up calling to request the venue in his name, as everyone suggested, but it was in fact already rebooked. My mom got a call saying her uncle sent in a higher deposit in his name, claiming he was covering the cost for us to compensate for a higher head count. He was essentially dangling the venue over our heads in order for us to go back on our word about not having that side of the family at the reception. I'm not sure how any of that works, and it seems incredibly unprofessional on the venue's part. Jay was willing to give in and just allow everyone to come at this point, mainly because we needed a venue, and it was impossible to find a new one with such a short time frame. I was not, and given everyone's collective outrage over the original post, I had enough of them. They had abused Jay behind my back and insulted our relationship. They didn't deserve to celebrate our marriage. One of the groomsladies came to the rescue and offered up her small property, about 30 minutes from the original site. Bless her. We transformed this place into something that somewhat resembles a wedding venue 2 days prior to it. It looked really good at the end. It had somewhat of a rustic, woodsy vibe, which Jace and I actually really liked. In fact, we liked it so much that we decided to have the ceremony there as well. One of Jay's cousins was officiating, and the original location had a refundable deposit as well, so it would all work out. The wedding was perfect, and the greatest day of my life. Despite the pitfalls, Jay and I had a truly fantastic day. I did not tell my mom's family about the change of plans. I told them that they could come to the reception at the venue they paid for, and that I was so sorry for being disrespectful to them. They were not pleased when they realized we had switched venues for both events and, unfortunately, were unable to get the new address. My uncle demanded we refund him for the deposit, which we obviously didn't. Jay and I blocked all of their numbers after sending them the early drafts of the wedding photos, which were edited so it looked as if I were wearing a dress just to piss them off. We've decided to go to NC with all of them, something that we probably should have done a long time ago. My siblings have as well, and my mom is LC. I still don't know why they chose to act the way they did, though some of their more creepy behavior has come to light. Neither of us are willing to go into depth on everything my family has done, but needless to say, I am fine with never speaking to them again. Jay said that in a few years, he's open to maybe seeing them at any potential family events. He's far too kind. We have decided, though, that when kids come into the picture, they will not have any contact with these people. And before anyone asks, everyone at the wedding left the original venue a harsh review. Was it petty? Yes, but none of us care. Both Jay and I would like to thank everyone for their support and well wishes as we go on to start our lives together. Third story. OP's wife ghosted him and their child over a political disagreement. It sounds a bit weird, but let me explain. I 32M am a politically neutral guy. My wife 25F is not. She is pretty hardcore MAGA and has been since 2016 or whenever the last election was. She is pretty vocal on Facebook about her views, and sometimes says some scary things. One time she asked my coworker to his face if he was documented. We literally grew up together in the Midwest, lol. Anyway, I usually let it slide because it's not hurting me. Like I said, I'm politically neutral. Last month though, she was getting my son 5M to bed one night, and after reading to him, she did a prayer before bed. Normal stuff like, Please pray for mommy, daddy, grandpa, and Trump. When I heard her say that, I was confused about why she was praying for just a guy who wasn't in our family. I asked her about it really politely, and she went off on me about how he is persecuted and needs prayers to win the election, fend off the enemy, and whatever. Again, I let it go because I normally wouldn't care. But now it seems like she is doing this to spite me. Even during a blessing before a meal, she adds, "And bless Trump, amen," really fast before I can argue. Last night was the worst one though. My dad, 77, had a small stroke and went to the hospital overnight. After I told her and my son, I said a small prayer for him. Of course, before I said amen, my wife added, "And bless Trump." Well, this time I got mad. I told her she should keep him out of our family prayers, and that this is our personal connection with God she is messing with by bringing in some weird old politician. Suffice it to say, she hasn't talked to me since. Am I really in the wrong here? Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I feel like it's gone too far. Ada. Top comments. Browsin'. Damn. So you married a general arsehole. And now you're upset she's being an arsehole to you specifically. NTA for asking your wife to not be petty when your father is in the hospital and you're feeling scared. But also, you chose the bed you're lying in. You're just starting to realize that politics impacts everyone eventually. Novelters 1. I let it slide because it's not hurting me. I can tell you that this political disconnect would be a deal breaker for me. And she's about to create another MAGA Trumper right under your nose. And you're okay with that? F that. Altruistic cable car. Honestly, your wife openly being racist by asking a coworker if he's documented, and you not putting your foot down right there does not sound like you're politically neutral. You allowed that behavior and just let it slide. That's not good, mate. You're NTA for being upset with your wife, bringing Trump into your prayer over family WTF. But you need to have a long talk with her about her general behavior and her comments, aside from just this latest issue. Cute Profession 9983. You're literally how the Nazis happened. It doesn't affect me, just everyone else, so I'm cool with it. Your wife is either a gullible moron who went down the wrong internet rabbit hole, or is a fascist. I know people like to throw that word around a lot, but that's because they don't know what it means. But what we're seeing in the States and in the world in general is a scary march towards authoritarianism that is anathema to the free world. I'd take my kid and run, but hey, it doesn't affect you, right? Like, she was racist to your boyhood friend's face. Update. Next day. So I mentioned in my previous post that my dad suffered from a small stroke the night before. Well, the small stroke was just the tip of the iceberg. Today, my dad suffered a major stroke in the hospital and passed away last night. My whole family is devastated, including my wife. When I said a prayer over him, she did not say anything about Trump and was very respectful. After we got home from the hospital, that was where I messed up. We were getting ready for bed, and I thanked her. She asked for what, and I said for not bringing up Trump during the prayer for my dad. She immediately got mad at me about why I thought she was such a terrible person who would do something like that. I said she literally did it when we first found out he had a small stroke, and she said to me that it was before she knew it was that serious. I said that it was my dad, and of course it was serious to me. Then I really messed up and showed her the post I made yesterday to try to get her to understand. She read through all the comments and got even more mad at everything, of course. Long story short, she drove off to her friend's house and left me having to deal with my son without a car. Later, she made this huge Facebook post about me and how I'm a terrible person. She said I made her drop out of college when I met her as a freshman in college and forced her to start a family with me. We met when we were 18 or older, and the kid was her idea, but whatever. I assume she got this idea from some of the comments about the age difference between us, so thanks. And then of course she says that I am against her, her beliefs, and all the usual things about Trump. I may update if something else happens, but whatever. Thanks to some of you for actually trying to help. I could ignore people calling me a troll, but apparently I'm a bad person for being politically neutral and basically a Nazi. I am not choosing a side on purpose to have less conflict, because if you can't tell, both sides are what caused the conflict. TLDR. My dad died and my wife drove off and won't talk to me. But who cares, because apparently I'm a troll, Nazi, groomer, or whatever. Relevant comments. Moname 2024. I'm not going to address the political donkey or the elephant in the room. What I am going to comment on is your wife's total lack of compassion and grace. Even if she had been justified in her anger and hurt, it was totally out of bounds to put you through that the night your father died. That is a heart issue way beyond politics. NTA. BD 10528. Sorry about your dad. Beyond your wife's troubling views about a guy who said he wants to be a dictator, Her leaving you alone right after your father died is particularly troubling. NTA. Kimmel. So your dad died, and the next day she treats you like SHT over Trump, and left you stuck with a kid and no car. You are NTA, but her health issues have more issues than a newspaper. Lamdarb. Both sides. My dude, both sides are not the same. Your wife is a victim of a toxic cult of personality, and you and your family are victims as well. It's not healthy to worship an individual like she does, and inferring from your previous post as Christians, you should be very wary of such a person. Liberals, progressives, and regular all Democrats aren't even the same thing, but none of them really adhere to the same level of cult worship as Republicans do for Donald Trump. It's just not something you really see. I'm sorry that your wife has been programmed. Consider her dead. She's not the same. I lost my own father this way. Everything is political. Even as evidence crushes the conspiracies he sold, he's still 100% indoctrinated into the cult. He's gone. Your wife is gone. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.